We have a new G1 Climax champion. The event wrapped up earlier today with a very good finals match, along with a return from excursion, some angles to set up some things for when the shows resume in September with the Destruction Tour. We're going to talk about all that here. So if you have not seen the G1 finals yet and you're tuning in and you don't want to know what happened until you do see them, stop now. Spoilers are ahead. With Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Welcome, everyone, to a very special episode of Speaking of Strong Style. We are going to take a look at G1 Finals for the G1 Climax 35 tournament. It took place today at the Ariake Arena. The semifinals were in the same arena just yesterday. So we're going to talk about the semifinals briefly. We're not going to spend too much time on that. We're going to spend most of our time talking about the finals today. It was a pretty newsworthy show. Yeah, enough for the special. I feel very much justified in having this episode here on Friday. I think there's too much to wait until Thursday. Thursday is going to be good because we'll have a few days to soak it in a little bit. But
you're ready to go.
A hot take episode is much needed on this one. Brad is here.
I feel great. I told
Maria Graciela Saiz is here. She says congratulations for the winner of the G1. Brad says, hey, fellas, can't wait to talk about the huge news coming out of the G1 final show. And Colin said, why was there a 2-hour different start time? You'd have to ask New Japan on that one, but I think
Sunday night show. Like they go in the afternoons now.
Yeah, a lot of their Sunday shows are afternoon shows in Japan. They start a little earlier on Sundays in Japan. That's not uncommon anyway.
So it's funny, Steven, when you and I got in and started chatting before the show, I was in one kind of vibe about the show and you were in a slightly different vibe, and we're gonna meet in the middle somewhere, and we're gonna see what the audience thinks about all this. But man, I'm coming in feeling great about everything.
Well, okay. It's interesting to say that. I think there are some ominous signs out there, but we'll take a look at them here. Let's go over the semifinals, like I mentioned briefly. Semifinals yesterday at the Ariake Arena, and that was in front of 4,558 people at Ariake, and that is down from last year. Last year, the semifinals and finals were at Sumo Hall, the Rigoku Kokugikan. This time they were in Ariake Arena. But last year, 5,300 for the semifinals. This year, 4,500. So down about 800 folks or so from last year. And they had EVIL and Yota Tsuji in the first semifinal. We found out why that one was going first. So, of course, the world champion was in the next one. So either way, this one should have been the first semifinal. The match was a decent brawl for the first 10 minutes. Tsuji was selling for most of it. There was a ref bump. Pretty serious ref bump. I mean, I think he gave the gene blast to poor Marty Asami right there. Took a big one. Then all the House of Torture garbage came in. Bad luck Don Fale. He hit the Don fall, it's called now.
Respect, I get it. Steven. Respect the Fale. He's a Don now.
Anyway, they played it up like Tsuji was knocked out cold by that fall. He put he being EVIL put Tsuji in the sharpshooter. And new referee, I guess that was Kenta Sato, came in. I believe it was Kenta Sato and not Sakamoto. But one of the other referees ran in and stopped the match immediately. My God, Tsuji's been killed. And the deflation in the crowd in Ariake when Tsuji was eliminated from the G1 took the wind out of everybody's sails on this one. I predicted Tsuji would win the tournament. So, of course, I was disappointed. But I'm disappointed in more ways than that with the decision, just because it's another. I don't know when New Japan is going to learn that probably the best thing they can do is give the fans someone they can believe in who will come through for them. Mm-hmm. And they just keep making these next generation guys, one after the other, come up short time and time again. And this would have been a spot where Tsuji could have come through for him. And again, he comes up short. And they just pathologically refuse to give the fans anyone to believe in on this. And it really, I think, is a mistake, because the best thing they can do is have someone who is there every night, show after show after show, not sometimes, but consistently going to all these towns that the people can buy, people can believe in, someone fresh. They won't give it to them. And this is just another thing that just sucked the air right out of that building.
So this is an abject failure by New Japan Pro Wrestling, straight up. That they got to this point and they didn't have the guy ready in any way, shape, or form. We and other shows and fans have been advocating and begging and pleading, and just we're having conversations about all of this, about one guy thinking like, okay, they're finally going to make the guy that's going to lead the rest of the generation, and he may not be the guy, but he's the guy for now, and we can get this going. And we got to the semifinals, and it was literally the rug being pulled out in the cartoon and all of the fans falling flat on their face. And it was, for lack of a better term, EVIL of all people that did this, which made you feel like it was more of the same with New Japan Pro Wrestling, in which we were going right back to the same old formulas and not doing anything new and not taking any chances.
Mm-hmm.
It was a deflating moment, but at the same time, we were advocating that EVIL was always going to make the final.
No, we weren't. No, I didn't.
I was advocating for it, at least. Like
I was. I said Tsuji over. I said Tsuji over Takeshita in the finals is my thought on that.
Yeah,
I never thought EVIL was going to make the finals.
I thought EVIL was always the final boss in this thing, where he was always just going to be the last hurdle to overcome. And the mistake I made was picking Tsuji instead of Takeshita. And for me, and I told you this off the air, I needed to see it. Like, I needed to see the confidence of them picking one of these two guys, and I picked the wrong guy.
Won't do it. Yeah, they just won't do it. They just won't do it.
And so I don't know what happens from here on out. I think Tsuji is cataclysmically damaged from this. Because a lot of people expected him to be the guy and going into Wrestle Kingdom. And right now, he lost the global title, and he's not in the main event picture, so he's somewhere in limbo in between. And that's not really a good place to be.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what we got here. Well, a couple of comments I wanted to get to here. Brad said overall he enjoyed the show. The matches, for the most part, were really solid. And he's very intrigued by the Kojima Gun story, which kind of came out of nowhere. We didn't expect this, but I'm into it too. I'm enjoying it. We're going to talk about that when we get to these.
One last question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
When was the last time Takeshita and Tsuji wrestled? It was last year, right? Like last year at the G1?
I think that's it. Yeah, I don't have that in front of me.
If they ran that back as the main event at Wrestle Kingdom with Tsuji as the challenger and Takeshita as the champion, it's not out of the question.
It's not, but I agree with you that Tsuji's a little damaged right now. He would have to be built up a little bit, because you have to use it to sell tickets. And the whole thing is like, how many people would buy tickets? Well, Tsuji always fails. Yeah. Didn't we just run into that exact situation last year with a guy who always fails in a world title match, and people were unimpressed with the house?
So all of this was just like, I'm trying to logic through, like, can they still have Tsuji in the world title picture over the next 6 months with a shotgun, like, I'm going to do everything I can to get a title shot kind of thing?
We'll have to see. Phenomenal Ace is asking, would Takeshita be the first G1 winner from another contracted promotion? No, he would not be. Satoshi Kojima was an all-Japan wrestler when he won the G1 Climax in 2010. And that was during one of the periods he was not with the company, and not in the whole Suzuki-gun thing where they were working for New Japan, but they had been sent to Noah. That was the thing with Suzuki-gun. That wasn't – Kojima had left All Japan, or for All Japan, and it was they were all working together. Granted, there were a lot of cross-promotional things. At that time, Kojima was an All Japan wrestler, and he did win the tournament. So that's about it. He also says, or is Konosuke still signed with DDT? Yes, right now he is working for he is signed to work for 3 different companies simultaneously. That is true. DDT, AEW, and New Japan. And I think he had another question. Do I think Tony Khan had something to do with Konosuke winning the G1? No. I don't. I mean, I think he's probably happy, but I don't think Tony Khan said you can have Takeshita as long as he wins. I don't think any of that happened. I think New Japan recognizes how talented Takeshita is, wants him on a full-time basis. I also, by the way, think Takeshita wants to be a full-time New Japan wrestler someday. And I think this is all a thing where New Japan thinks this guy's the truth. I think they're correct in that. I think the timing is off on making him the guy and doing this right now, which, like I said, I think they need somebody who's there more often. But I don't think that this was Tony making New Japan do anything. I think New Japan believes in Takeshita as much as maybe even more than Tony Khan does, frankly, because Tony's not pushing him all the way to the top, but New Japan is. So I think that's where we're getting that. So,
okay. Tony Khan had to agree to this at some point. He had to say, yes, Takeshita can go and wrestle in the G1. If he said no, it would get out and he would look like the bad guy. Like 1,000%. Why wouldn't you let Takeshita wrestle in the G1? Like, Tony Khan, you're a bad boss, blah, blah, blah. It was a no-win situation. He had to because of the fan demand and the expectation and he's already contracted wrestler in New Japan Pro Wrestling. With that said, I think Tony Khan is incredibly aware that TV Asahi and New Japan Pro Wrestling look at this guy as if he's the second coming of Inoki and are trying to position him that way in front of the audience. And that's been communicated between the two promotions. I know that for a fact. And when you have that, you have to be aware as Tony Khan that this guy is very much at risk of being someone that you're going to lose as a full-time wrestler because, this is one of those rare instances where he may not have all the power in keeping a guy from being there and not necessarily going to WWE. Like, he may be AEW, but there may be language in that contract where it's New Japan first and AEW second. And I think that's how it should be.
USVA guy says Tsuji's never been the guy. Don't know about that. Says Yuya is the guy almost everyone in the company talks about. His injury last year derailed a lot of plans. It may have.
I'm with him on Yuya.
Well, here's where we're off though. They say that Yuya is the guy. Okay. Well, they booked him the same way they book everybody else in this G1, and they had a chance. He's healthy this G1. Yep. He was in it until the last day. They had him fall short. And I said, now you can do something with that. In that's the heartbreaking loss he needs to come back from later, and that's a longer-term story. I'm kind of down with that, except for God's sakes, make someone. Pull the trigger on someone. If you're going to have Uemura fall short, then you have Shota Umino get to the playoffs. So Uemura doesn't get to the playoffs. He falls short of even making the playoffs. He fails. You put Umino in there. He fails. You put Tsuji in there. He fails. Now you're going to go back and say, buy tickets for these people. What are they? This is stuff that's puzzling to me, is that they won't friggin' pull the trigger on anybody. And it's just fail. And the crowd won't get behind somebody full time the way they need to, the way they need fans to. Look at the attendance figures. It ain't great. And unless they think that maybe, possibly, the guy I like will actually come through for me. And what evidence do they have that there's anybody like that?
Now, when I respond, I want to be clear that I'm not disagreeing with you in any way, but simply offering a business standpoint from this that appears to be really conservative. Like, you can make a guy, but if you make a guy and fail, you're way more screwed than if you don't make a guy at all. Because the audience will still wait. The audience will still hope. You'll lose a bit, but if they lose confidence that you can't make the guy at that level, you're in such a worse place. And I saw what they were doing with Yuya a mile away. This is all conservative babyface booking where they're putting him through the paces. You are getting the audience primed for this guy to win it. You got everybody worked up over the last 4 days that this guy got screwed out of making it to the post-block play to the point where the awareness of him was probably raised going into the future. Now it's absolutely incumbent upon New Japan Pro Wrestling to shoot this guy to the moon over the next 4, 5, 6 months. Wrestle Kingdom, he can't be third or fourth match on the card, having a highlight singles match. You know, like he should be like going for the global title. It should be Yuya and Shota in there. I'm sorry, Gabe, but I don't think you're the future of the promotion. Like, put these top guys in these positions. You see Shota, you see Yuya in these undercard tags. They're tagging with each other. They're friends. You can see the World Tag League. You can see some of these things getting built up and like primed, and that's good. I'm with you on all this. I do think that Yuya is the guy, and that's part of the reason Tsuji didn't win this, is because eventually they're going to look at the hot new toy that is Yuya Uemura rather than Yota Tsuji, and it's just a matter of time. But I wasn't always in on Yota Tsuji like everyone else is. Every time I've seen Yuya, I'm like, you might be the guy. And if he is, they got to stop being conservative. They have to like shoot this guy to the moon, and they have to do it at a point where like people aren't really expecting it. So when we get to the next big show, he's already in a position where like, yeah, I believe in this guy. You know, it's like putting Goto going into Dominion. You did it in the middle of the season in between the Cup and Wrestle Kingdom, and then he was in that position going into those big shows.
You got to pick somebody. And the thing was, the Uemura thing, we talked about it on the show Thursday. I'm down with the idea of him having the heartbreaking loss and then pulling back. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I do think he's a superstar. The thing is, with Tsuji, you also can't push all of them at once. It really does need to be one at a time. You establish one, then the next guy comes up and joins him. Because if you push 6 people at once, none of them get over. You know, if you push everybody, then nobody's being pushed. It really is like that. You got so Tsuji. My thought was Tsuji could win this thing this year and have a big 2025. Then now the story is Uemura. He's the moon, I'm the sun, right? That's the whole rivalry with these two. Now I have to. Oh, I had that heartbreaking loss, and those House of Torture snakes hosed me last year. I will not. Oh, I can't allow this. You know, like now his story is even more. Means even more to him because he's got to get there now that his arch rival got there before he did. I can't let this stand. It's all there, right? But if they all go at once, it doesn't work anyway. So it's time for them to do something. Oh, before we get it, I want to just go into the Takeshita Zach match because we've kind of lost track of the semifinals over here, and I want to get to today's show.
We're going to drop Yota Tsuji after he's done talking, so I just kind of want to get those last bit of things in there.
But with that thought, by the way, that match, first time Takeshita's really been a full-blown babyface wrestler in the G1. He's kind of had that arrogant, I am the alpha persona. Instead, he dropped all of that to have this test of survival with Zach, because of course he's been beat up over the course of the G1. His knee is badly softened up and damaged. Ren Narita went after it a little bit. And then Zach, of course, put him through the torture chamber of a match. Fantastic match. Zach is so smooth going from move to move and from moment to moment in a match, just smooth as a silk, moving
like
from
a cheat code of a wrestling match.
Oh my God. Going from a pin attempt to a kick out into a submission, just like it was, it's just so perfectly done.
Like a spider weaving a web. It just one move.
Brilliant match. Takeshita looked like he almost killed him by attempting a raging fire off the ropes, and it turned into a brain buster. That
landed on his shoulder, but the angle made it look like the dude's head separated from his body.
It did, and then Takeshita ended up hitting the power train knee, and then the power drive knee. Powertrain, that's a warranty. Power drive knee.
Zach's gonna have a warranty after that match.
Yeah, the power drive knee, and then he hit raging fire to win it. That match was brilliant. That was fantastic. It sets up that title match down the road just fine. So I was all in favor of that. So as we left, we had the New Japan fans pretty upset because they had Evil, a guy they really didn't want to see in the finals, facing an outsider that they see as a part-time guy. That is our G1 finals going into today. So the company gave itself an uphill battle going into this show today.
What was your thoughts after watching that show before you knew anything other than the main event of this show?
My thoughts going into the show before I knew anything other than the main event?
Yeah, like your snap judgments in between. Like, well, how do I feel about the show right now? Do you remember any thoughts about it?
Excuse me. I just want to clarify one thing. Are you talking about how I felt about the semifinal night, or
Yeah,
how I felt?
how you felt about what the finals were going to be like after watching the semi, but knowing nothing other than the main match on the finals.
I still was hoping that Takeshita would win, just because I think it's a more interesting story with Takeshita winning. I hope that they would do something in the middle. I thought, because we're having 3 weeks off now, I hope they would do something in the early part of the card to point us in a direction, because one thing that we really didn't know was anybody's next challengers.
Sure.
And we needed something. So I thought there might be some things going on in the undercard, and we got those. So it was more consequential than I thought it was going to be. I'll say that. I thought they might do one or two things, and we ended up getting quite a few more things than that on the undercard of this show.
Yeah. I literally laughed, and I was like, all right, you guys, how are you going to book yourselves out of this one?
Yeah. It was interesting, because they upset a lot of people.
I was just like, you have stepped on your own genitals, and I literally don't understand why you're doing this. But at the same time, I've said over and over and over, I think Evil's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Well, now it's going to be time to find out whether I'm right or not.
Yeah, Colin said that he didn't watch today's show. He said, but he knows who won, and predictable would be an understatement. He thought that was a fairly predictable decision to have Takeshita win.
It would have been predictable either way, I argue.
Crash said, at least they made the right call not to make the Tyrant win the G1, especially in real world 2025 dystopian climate, even if that Tyrant is a low-level punk, but rather than a Thanos God tier level heel. I understand what you mean. Yeah, it was nice that we didn't have to go all the way with it for Evil. But I advocated that on Thursday. I said, the thing is about Evil is he doesn't need the G1 to be what he is. So I felt that anybody else needed a G1 victory. There were a lot of people who needed a G1 victory, and Evil wasn't one of them. If he had won the G1, if he didn't win the G1, he's in exactly that same spot of being the number one pure heel in the company. And so he didn't need it. I still stand by that. And I think this was it's not the correct decision, because I still think having a full-timer is. I think you need to give the fans somebody like that. But of the two, Evil and Takeshita, Takeshita's the smarter choice.
He's the play. You know, he can win the fans over eventually if they book him right. That's the play. And we'll talk about that when we get to it.
Lady B is here. Hi, Lady B. And as someone who rarely watches New Japan outside of big events, fair enough, Tsuji has always had my eye and appears to be a star, while I also love Takeshita. It's my point is that if Uemura is the next Tanahashi, that pure babyface, pictures with the kids and all that kind of stuff type of guy, hugging the fans guy, seems like he is. And it doesn't seem put on. It seems like it's part of him is to be that kind of guy. If he's the next Tanahashi, then I feel like Tsuji's that next kind of Nakamura, the guy that's a little more, it's just a little more flamboyant, maybe not as saccharine sweet, maybe a little bit more of an edge, and a little bit cockier. I feel like that's the thing. I'm not trying to say that he just slides right into a spot and does a tribute act, but that pure babyface versus guy who's got a little bit of a punk side to him, I think that's healthy. I think it's a nice contrast. I think that that Tsuji could be the Nakamura to Uemura's Tanahashi.
Naito started with that ungovernable because of the fan rejection in a way. And while that's not the same case with Tsuji, there's a part of me that kind of wonders if they're trying to create a scenario where he becomes ungovernable, like the next generation, but like naturally of his own, based off of, the roots of him being an LIJ and all these things. And, you gave him those victories early on in his career, but then he stalls out and realizes that this isn't really working for him. And like you said, Yuya is the sun and he's the moon. So maybe it's not Nakamura, but it's just right in front of our face, and that he's just going to be a new iteration where, he's the leader of the Ungovernables.
Yeah, they're different people, and that helps a
Yeah.
lot of times. So Colin mentions, how was the crowd after he won? Boy, are we going to talk about that. Boy, are we going to talk about that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. And he did mention, he says, Colin said, I went on some Japanese New Japan pages, and those fans were mad as hell. Yeah, they're not happy. They're not happy.
There were saltiness all weekend, and it escalated or declined based off of whether you were appeased.
And then Crash says, I rate Yuya over cosplay pudding bro. So the Marlowe pudding thing. Tsuji's a great wrestler, but carrying a company, not so sure. Neither of them right now, but Yuya more, he thinks. Well, there you go. And Ace says, I can see it being a New Japan decision. Yeah, I was only saying that with the WWE working with other companies, their guys tend to go over, like AJ Styles and Marufuji last year. Yeah, a little bit of a different situation, isn't it? I think when Noah gets some of these WWE guys like AJ or Nakamura came over last year, I do think there's a bit of a prohibit, like, yeah, but our guy's got to win. I don't want my guy losing out there. And it might be possible.
Optics, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's what goes on. I don't think Tony Khan is over there. The working relationship would dictate that New Japan doesn't just job him out. But I also think that New Japan has a stake in Takeshita that comes into play here, where they want Takeshita to be a star, because I think he wants to come in. And Brad says he's all in on Oiwa. That's my guy out of the three young dudes.
He actually had Oiwa in the post block play, and I was heartbroken for him. They didn't get to see that through.
Yeah. And he said, and then Crash says, let's see, I'd share those doubts if I was NJ Booker's. Look at Takeshita, though. He's worked his way into that spot. People may share disagreements about his career path and contract situation, but his work rate speaks for itself. Sure does. And boy, did he have phenomenal match after phenomenal match in this G1. Just
he wore a coat ass down throughout the entire thing.
Flaming Shark says, I can't express how much I loved watching Zach and Takeshita. That's a match I'm certain I'd never get sick of.
Well, you're getting it again, buddy.
Yeah. Fernando Zayas, congratulations to Takeshita. Did not want Evil to win. And let's see. Brad mentioned some wrestlers doing the same style as Zach always look like they're trying to remember what comes next. This hits it on the head. He's thinking so far ahead. He knows what to do 10 minutes early. It just flows. It just flows. He never has to look like he's taking a beat to figure anything out. It always looks like he knows exactly there. So what he's doing, very nice stuff.
All right, 30 minutes before we even get to the finals. We're doing it, guys. We are decompressing and debriefing the G1 for the last 2 days.
And that's why we wanted to do this. We wanted to have a little place for those kind of hot takes to be expressed, to kind of get that burn off that energy that comes right after a big show. So this is what I was hoping for. But let's talk about the show today, because it turned out to have some things going on top to bottom. It was a busy day. It was a busy day. So came back today. Now, I mentioned that we had 5,304 yesterday. Well, we came back to 6,870. So a bigger crowd for the finals. It's still down. It was over 8,000 last year for the finals. So both days down about 15% from last year. That's just the reality of it. That's the other thing when I saw some people, by the way, Jeremy, say that, Evil's more popular in Japan than he is with Western fans. There are more people in Japan like House of Torture than the West. And I say, okay, but those people aren't buying tickets. I thought that's the goal here. Maybe they're buying some T-shirts. That's fine. They're not buying tickets. And then so all this stuff about House of Torture's over. There's not a lot of evidence of that. So back at Ariake Arena, opened up with the Young Lion tag match. That was Matsutori Yasuda and Zane J against Shomakato and Tetsuya Matsumoto. Wasn't bad. Yasuda beat Matsumoto with the Boston Crab. Shomakato still talking about how he wants to go off to Mexico, but this is just a basic opener. Young Lion match, and the one with the least seniority took the fall. So pretty by the New Japan numbers for that.
You know how you know that everyone's tired is when the entrances last longer than the matches for the majority of the show.
Also true. So there we go. So that was it. Then we had the first match on the main card is something that Brad mentioned here. So Taichi used to be a member of Kojima Gun. This was a faction formed by Satoshi Kojima, who was a bit of an outsider when he came back from All Japan. And they had the whole thing where the Hantai group didn't want him around, didn't trust him. Again, that institutionalized New Japan distrust of people who aren't through and through New Japan Pro Wrestling. And Kojima had the temerity to leave and come back. So he formed a bit of an outsider stable. He had Taichi, he had Taka Michinoku, had a few others. Didn't last long was the whole idea that it wasn't in Kojima's heart to be a heel. Whereas the rest of his faction was more than happy to be jerks. So in about 6 months, they ditched Kojima for Suzuki. So they went from Kojima Gun to Suzuki Gun, and they became the real snakes in the grass in the company. And it also set off a feud between Suzuki and Kojima, and they got some big show matches out of it. That was the thought there. What we did not know is that apparently Taichi and Kojima, Taichi in particular, aren't friggin' over this yet. It's been 15 years, but Taichi's still a little pissy about all this stuff. So they teamed with each other a couple of times. It didn't go particularly well. They clotheslined each other, that type of thing. Malfunctions, junctions. Taka Michinoku was here this time. He came out with Taichi, and I mentioned that he hadn't been on the shows yet until today. But this time, Kojima and Taichi actually did work well together. Their double team moves worked for the same time. They were facing, I mentioned, Murashima and Togi Makabe. That was the opponent for Kojima and Taichi. And this time, Taichi hit the backdrop, the big Jumbo Tsuruta backdrop on Murashima, pinned him. Afterwards, Taka encouraged Taichi to patch things up with Satoshi Kojima. He did so. They shook hands.
Lovely.
And I know it wasn't a dry eye in the house. So they're back together again a little bit, and that hatchet has been buried. Taichi was even Taichi was even joking about switching teams with Yoshihashi in a trios match before. He says, "Why can't we switch? Can we do this?" But no, now they're going to get along. But then the music stopped, and the War Dogs music played, which got everybody kind of like, "Well, what in the world is this about?" David Finlay came out for Taichi and Kojima. What the hell? Finlay said the War Dogs need change. He's been saying that the last couple of days in his post-match comments. And something needs to change. He waves to the entrance. And here come the Knockout Brothers, KOB. And it was Yuto Nakashima and Oscar Loibe back from their excursion. It had been
formerly known as Youngblood.
Now known as the Knockout Brothers. And now Yuto Nakashima is Yuto Ice. And he has cut his hair and dyed it. Oscar's got shoulder-length hair now, looking all big and bad, and also put on some muscle. Certainly Oscar has.
You look like a little gangster goblin.
He looks like, I thought he looked like he's working on his Makabe impression still.
Yeah.
There's a little Makabe in there. But they beat up Kojima, they beat up Taichi, and then they left with Finlay in tow. And basically the whole point of that was to challenge Taichi and rumor has it, NJPW wrestler Tomohiro Ishii, although we haven't seen him in a minute. But we have Ishii and Taichi, the tag team champions, and now the Knockout Brothers, Nakashima and Oscar. Just Oscar now. And it seems to be stylized in all caps, the OSKAR. That is our new tag team championship challenging team.
I'm so here for this. I'm really excited that they're back. They looked great. Yuta Ice, I guess.
Yuta Ice. Yo.
So
word to your mother.
He came out and he looked tiny next to Oscar. Yeah. He looked like, the small guy on the side to the big guy, I'm going to be the big guy, and I'm like, it's like the Enzo Big Bill kind of thing. But then Yuta squared up to Taichi, and they're the same size. And I'm just like, oh my God, Oscar's huge. Like, just absolutely massive. And he's got like that long, like Sting Crow era hair, like going down to his head. And it's just, like, he looks like scary Eurotrash.
Yeah, there you go.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, because like you're trying to give off a certain vibe. And this is just going to be fun. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, if there's a tag team, the one thing the tag team division needs is new. It is new blood, young blood, right? And even though they're not called that anymore,
roll them and take the titles.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think they might. And then, okay, with some comments about this one here. Colin's asking who's the guy whose air guitar playing is over the top. Oh, that's Murashima. Murashima leans into the air guitar. He has come a long way in charisma in the last 3 months, and we're seeing signs that he is close to either going on excursion or, because not everybody does anymore, going into that next phase, because he's at that spot, Jeremy, as a young lion. He's starting to get some very, very serious near falls. He is starting to develop a personality. His moveset is much bigger than any other young lion right now. They're letting him do a lot of different things in the ring. That power slam is doing pretty well for him too. He's got a good looking power slam. It feels like they're about ready to send him on his way to wherever for a little bit, because this is when they start coming incredibly close to getting pins, but not quite getting them. That tends to be when they move off and their young lion journey comes to an end. I feel like we're getting pretty close to that with Murashima.
I've got a question for you. Who's the last person they sent on excursion?
Well, Loibe and Nakashima.
Are they still doing that?
Well, I mean, we don't know. I mean, that's just Sho Mikado has spoken openly about going to CMLL. He wants to.
Sure.
And I know that's one thing.
But I'm just like, I'm watching Daiki Nagai get partnered up with the unaffiliated. I'm watching the other guy with Taichi.
Yasuda.
Yasuda. I'm seeing him with Tanahashi. Like, I'm wondering if they're doing a different approach and they're just not talking about it.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be. I mean, it's odd that Kato speaks so openly about going to Mexico more than once. That
maybe
it does feel
do
like
Fantastica Mania, and you're just like, hey, let me go do Fantastica Mania over there. But I just don't know if they're in the promotion right now is in good enough shape where they're really going to do excursion right
now. Yeah, who knows? Could be. But yeah, I definitely think that Nagai seems to be taking the Kosei Fujita route where he just joins up with somebody.
And that just might be the way that they're doing it right now.
It could be. Somebody might go to Noah.
Absolutely.
Just go across the street again, because that worked out well for both companies.
They might, but at the same time, as long as there's that WWE affiliation, I feel like the dividing lines are kind of... I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, Oiwa was there when Nakamura was going over for them. So
I understand, but like with Noah being affiliated with NXT, I think that there are optics from the other side of the company that are simply like, we're not doing that.
Let's see. Brad says, I saw someone say Yuto is the love child of Togi Makabe and Paul Wall, and I can't unsee that. I like that a lot. Shark says, yeah, all the reasons to be excited for the Knockout Brothers. They look ready for this return. Yeah, they've been going a long time. They were in Europe for a lot of that trip. They were wrestling in Germany, wrestling in England, spent some time over in the Tamashi promotion in Oceania, so working Australia and New Zealand. So, and Shark
says, this way, I think our show was in double-digit episodes when they left.
Shark says they already feel perfect for the Bullet Club based on how they presented them. It did feel like a War Dogs team. It felt like a War Dog team. So yeah, we're buying all that. And Crash TV says Oscar is a bouncer for an underground rave in a warehouse in Berlin who also works for the German mafia. I like that as a backstory. That's a good one.
The love story of Kevin Nash and Crow Era Sting.
And then Crash TV gives us a nice transition back to the show. As he said, they could also do with stocking up the United Empire as much as the War Dogs.
Oh, you mean the Prince?
Yeah, you might be onto something there, but we'll take a look at that now. So, okay, that was that match, and that kind of got the show off to an energetic start. I think it set a nice tone. Mm-hmm. After that, we had Master Wato, Toru Yano, and Yo. They were facing El Desperado, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Yoshihashi, which is a mishmash if ever I have seen one. This one only went 6 minutes and 40 seconds yesterday, meaning on the semifinals day. Taguchi pinned Wato in a prelim tag. And Taguchi, ever since, has been trying to find two guys to team up with to go after the never openweight 6-man tag titles, which is Wato, Yano, and Yo. And so far to not a lot of success. Desperado seems uninterested, to say the least. Yoshihashi kind of was a little wishy-washy, if you pardon a rhyme there. But Taguchi's trying to find a couple of partners. In the meantime, Yo just hits direct drive on Desperado and pins him again, which is, again, he beat him in the best of the Super Juniors. So now we definitely have a challenger for Desperado. It is Yo after beating him twice with the direct drive.
There's too many people in Hontai, buddy.
Yeah.
Hontai has too many members, and we are now firmly in a position where they're all just fighting each other. And like it's friendly, but it doesn't feel it's like friendly, but like there's that weird tension.
Yeah, and it's it's not the sexiest junior tag team or junior title feud ever. Like Yo versus Desperado, it just doesn't.
I thought I'm like, oh, we're running that back, and it just like inevitably it feels like it's going to be Desperado and Doki at the Dome. They're running it back one more time, and they're just going to pass time until we get there.
Yeah, and they're going to have the psychology all backwards when they do it.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
After this, House of Torture, Don Fale. Thank goodness we get to see him in action. Sonata and Kanemaru against El Phantasmo, Bolton, and Tiger Mask. Good Lord. This was not good. This was an absolute stinker. Fale ended up winning it with an elbow drop on poor Tiger Mask, who had to lay there and take that. But the whole thing is Bolton wants to fight Fale because Fale messed up his chances in the G1, and Fale thinks because he led to Bolton getting beat that he should get a title shot. It doesn't. It's not clicking. We'll see. It's a guy for Bolton to beat, a guy for him to. I hope he beats him. Good Lord. And,
wow, you actually said that out loud.
Yeah, and this did not get a response from the crowd. Frankly, this might as well have been going on during intermission while they were checking their phones.
We said it when Don Fale came back. He's the budget option. You know, like he is under contract. He's not that expensive, and you can bring him out there and he can do bad guy stuff, and you're not breaking the bank. I was surprised we didn't see Chase Owens, but they didn't want to spend a ticket on him. So we got Don Fale instead. I honestly expected to see him here tonight. And, you know, Oleg Bolton should run through him and, you know, be the next guy in a pile of guys to give Don Fale a really impressive suplex over and over and over again and move on. And
then Shark says, by the way, I love that Fale is back. Well, we found one. We found one guy. He can absorb the heat from our King of Darkness. No one will ever call Evil bad again when Fale is around. It does make him look a little bit more like
he's a bulletproof vest of crap.
He makes Evil look like Bryan Danielson, that's for sure. There, yeah. It's now look, Fale. At one point, Fale was never great. I would say at one point he was pretty decent for his size when he was still mobile. He hadn't gained as much weight as he has now. His joints weren't shot, and he was younger. But in the day, if he were in with a really good worker, he could have a really good match. And he did with Nakamura. He had a couple where they traded the Intercontinental title. Neither one of those matches was bad at all. He had a couple in the G1 with Tanahashi, where Tanahashi would kind of pull out all the stops and trick him basically into getting himself counted out in some ways. You know, that was how they would do it because they didn't like to pin Fale even then. Those guys, when they were in their prime, could get a decent match out of Fale. But there was never a point where Fale was this great worker. And now that he's both older, heavier, and more beat up, it's a slog sometimes watching him.
Yeah, I kind of look at him and think like less is more. I don't need to see him on 4 or 5 matches throughout the show. Yeah. Like I said, he's cheap, you know, and the company doesn't have a whole lot of money, and he knows the business. You know, I see guys like that in a whole lot of promotions that, you know, are willing to take a couple of bumps, but more of the time it's just, you know, a handshake deal kind of thing. And eventually he'll be done. I kind of have been looking at those clips of Devitt and him back in the day, like doing stuff together, and with everything going on with Callum Newman, I'm like, I kind of have that little like twinkle in my eye. I was like, maybe they could run that little team up together, but I don't know if they have that kind of imagination with Fale right now.
After that, we had a couple of really good tag matches here. A 6-man and an 8-man. The 6-man was Tanahashi, Umino, and Uemura against Callum Newman, Great Khan, and Jacob Austin Young. This one only went 8 minutes and 24 seconds, but it was pretty good. Uemura ended up hitting the deadbolt on Jacob Austin Young. Great-O-Khan has been saying they're feeling like if something doesn't change and if they don't find the right opponent, the United Empire might cease to exist. And Okan seemed to be looking toward Tanahashi at the end of this match, like they wanted a match with Tana. That seemed to be the direction they were hinting. Also, we're starting to get a real chip on the shoulder attitude out of Callum Newman right here, who doesn't appear to be as enthused about United Empire perhaps as he used to be. So while they were bringing back KOB and putting them with the War Dogs, it feels like changes are afoot for United Empire. They didn't do it today, but it does feel like we're going to be either some sort of turnover or a shift in things before too much longer.
Callum rebranded yesterday on the semis.
Yeah, that's true.
He is now the Prince. He was previously the Prince of Pace, and now he is just going to be known forward as the Prince. And there's even kind of a sense that he's trying to carry himself differently, as if maybe he's the guy stepping up to be kind of the leader of the faction or the front guy, that kind of thing. But we need to start paying attention to Callum Newman and start taking seriously his role in the company, both given the G1 results that he had and this renewed positioning that seems that they have a little bit of confidence with him.
Shark's saying they've been slow burning the UE thing for ages, but yeah, we'll be getting around to whatever they want to do with it soon enough. It does feel like we're approaching the moment, and whatever that moment may be. But I would like to see Okan step up and just be the leader. I think they're good at it. I think they could do it. I think they could handle it. After that 8-man tag match, the Bullet Club War Dogs, we had Finlay, Maloney, Geto, and Taiji Ishimori facing off with unaffiliated. That's Shingo Takagi, Yota Tsuji, who seemed fine after they had portrayed him as being knocked out, and they went through all this rigmarole about how he was just. I like what Walker said. It was so ridiculous. They just said he was barely just squeaked by, able to get cleared. Like he had. Like there was some sort of race going on for him to show that he was conscious. I don't know what that would be.
They made an angle out of it in the main event, and I called bullshit on it at that attack.
It didn't fool me either. Anyway, he was fine in the match and looked all right. This was another good match that had good energy, and they seem to be pairing these two factions off on one another. First time we've seen all of this unaffiliated group together in one match anyway. They've appeared together, but this is the first time all four. And Hiromu, of course, back from wrestling both in AEW and Noah lately, and he'll be working for Noah going forward as well. Cool. That's coming up. His match with Yohei, I guess, is going to be part of the N1 tour. So Shingo is being set up to face Gabe Kidd. He said that if Gabe Kidd is too hurt to be in the G1, but not too hurt to do this asinine cage match for no reason at a pay-per-view that shouldn't exist, I may have added some of that. He said that he should just vacate the global title because he shouldn't have it. And it is a little depressing that
who said that?
Shingo said that. He just said he should give up the global title if he can't come to Ariake, but he can go to England and wait around for this silly cage match, then he should just give up the global title. I don't disagree.
That's a subtle positioning in the faction, if you notice that.
Yeah,
Yota Tsuji is the 1, Shingo's the 2.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, because Tsuji's the one that was going nose to nose with Finlay after this match was over. Drilla Maloney had paired off a little bit there too. And so you had Ishimori staring down. Well, Nagai was more looking at Geto. Ishimori was going at Hiromu because they're old rivals.
Ishimori was waving him off. He was like, "Get out of here."
Yeah, well, you know what that means. Ishimori, by the way, is going to be having interactions with a lot of people because he's setting up for his own promoted show. So he's doing his own Death Pain Invitational type of thing, and apparently he's going to do a 2-hour Iron Man match, which he's saying he's not going to do, but he says he's not going to do it every day, which means he's doing it. So he needs help. He needs other people for this show. So he'll be crossing the paths of many people on the way to that one.
Well, that sounds lovely, Steven.
The 2-hour Iron Man match.
Can't wait.
All right, so let's see. Let's go to some of these comments about this one because it was fun. Brad mentions this. Over 6,000 people going nuts for Daiki Nagai was great to see. They are getting into him big time. They're loving Daiki. So they were chanting Daiki, Daiki when he was in there with and Finlay was just kind of looking around. Is like, seriously? All right, well, good for you, kid. Now I'm going to kill you. And he did. But it was fun.
Amazing. Isn't it amazing that the audience is responding positively to a young guy that's hungry and wants to fight?
Yeah, there you go.
Weird.
There you go. Yeah. Shark just says Suji and Finlay were literally having a casual chat. They might as well have been flirting. Very much in their personality.
I 1000% watched them and thought they were figuring out where they're going to get ramen later.
I know a place. I can give them a recommendation, and you for that matter. When you get to Tokyo, Jeremy, you're gonna love it. But yeah, it's both of them too cool for school, right? Neither one of them are going to give me. I'm not going to let you upset me. You're not going to let me upset you. We're just going to have a little chat, right?
Okay, like for those of you that are not 100% sure that like the War Dogs are not like the top heels of this company, they literally stood there in the middle of the ring and jaw-jacked with another faction. 3 months ago, they would have tried to throw them out of the ring and send them packing. But here tonight, they're all just getting in each other's faces. And it's just kind of like, you got to kind of recalibrate where these guys are in the babyface heel kind of spectrum.
And someone mentioned earlier, I'm trying to find it with Maloney. They made a point that we've talked about too, is if they need to, Maloney can lead the War Dogs. Mm-hmm. And yeah, with Finlay still there, Finlay's still the leader, and that's not something that they're dealing with right now. But
Finlay's been there like 10 years. Can you believe that?
Yeah. He was a young lion. He and Jay White were young lions together, wrestling each other as young lions.
It's like if the wheels are falling off anytime soon, like at no point is anyone going to look at David Finlay like, wow, you are not loyal to New Japan. Like, he has done his time and more. And when it's time for him to go, like, I get getting Drill and Maloney ready because, like, both of those guys could be going to different places within the next 18 months.
Yeah, and Shark mentioned something here that's absolutely true. Both of these factions are kind of in the same spot, is that they're kind of tweeners. Like, so, you'll mostly root for them unless they're in with somebody else you like, and then you might boo them a little bit. They're kind of in the middle right there.
They're the cool ass kickers that you want to show up and beat up the bad guys.
Yeah. Rebels without a cause are the War Dogs right now, according to Crash. That's about right. Okay, so that was match. Anyway, those were two really good matches that we had in a row right there. Those were enjoyable, and that all came to a screeching halt with the 8-man tag match that came later, because we had Doki, Ren Narita, Sho, and Yujiro. They faced TMDK. Now, this match wasn't bad. It was Hartley Jackson, Fujita, Oiwa, and Zack. All kinds of talent on the TMDK side. Sho, who seems like he's his physique changing a lot to you lately, the shows anyway?
He's been huge since the Best of the Super Juniors.
Yeah, I guess so. Yujiro was there, and then, Narita and Doki. But the other story that kind of went on in the background all weekend was that House of Torture couldn't lose. Or didn't lose. Mm-hmm. They just won going into this final match. This was another one where they got a victory here, but the crowd was dead for this. Just absolutely dead for this match.
They were ready for the main event. We're like, let's go, guys. Come on.
Yeah, let's get to it. Narita ended up beating Hartley Jackson with Hell's Guillotine. There was a post-match beatdown with Narita on Zack, and I think that helped kill the crowd, because they're just like, oh, Zack's going to wrestle House of Torture again now? Like, that's going to be the direction? Looks like it is. Looks like Ren Narita is going to be a challenger coming up soon. And, this one just kind of fell dead. The only part that people kind of enjoyed, Fujita grabbed the tag team titles, junior tag team titles, from Sho and Doki, and essentially made a challenge to team up with Robbie Eagles and face them. But, there wasn't a lot to this, and the people weren't into it.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of this one, but I was at a point where, like, no, I need to watch the finals and get the hot takes off of that one. Looking at the cage match right here, 55 minutes of in-ring action on the undercard before the main event of this show.
Wow.
Less than an hour of in-ring action. These guys were beat up.
Yeah. Fujita did end up making the save. That's true. Crash TV mentions that he saved Zach from the beatdown of Narita, and that led to him making that challenge for the tag title. So they're giving the guy a lot. They're giving the guy a lot
tonight too.
Not the last time. Now we get to the G1 Climax finals. Konosuke Takeshita and EVIL. And for Shark just says the only reason this match was semi-main is because House of Torture was in it, leading into EVIL and the IWGP champion on the other side. Yeah, that's and also the world champ's in it. So you don't put the world champ too far down on the card. At least New Japan does not. So yeah, that's why. And again, it would have come into play here. So all of House of Torture came back out with EVIL. All of them. Rocky was out with Takeshita. First 10 minutes of this was a lot of House of Torture stuff, and it was poorly done. It wasn't good. At one point, EVIL was just holding Red Shoe's pant leg while a dozen people friggin' ran in right behind him, and Red Shoes kept kind of looking over his shoulder to see, oh, no, I can't look over yet. It was so badly done.
I think my favorite was Red Shoes down with EVIL, kneeling down. His back and head slightly turned away from the camera, whereas Konosuke Takeshita is taking a double clothesline from two people running the ropes right next to him and knocking him down, and then them getting ejected from the ring right by him. But he has no idea this is all going on.
It's so badly done. It was so poorly done. So the first 10 minutes of this, I just wrote, this is crap. And I started wondering, okay, am I about to watch the worst G1 Climax final in history? And I started to look. I actually looked back at what are past finals? Is there anyone that would be a crap match? Because these are almost always great. Things got better. So eventually,
they just got it all out of the way.
Eventually, the Young Lions were told to gather up these guys. It was poorly done. Everything was bad. Like the Young Lions really had no reason to have a physical advantage on the House of Torture, but they dragged them out.
Red Shoes got ejected them, and then they came back, and then the baby faces throughout the roster took matters.
The whole thing sucked. So they were gone. All right, so they're gone. Except they weren't, because Ren Narita came in and started interfering with the push-up bar, and he whacked Takeshita in the knee and all this stuff, and then Zack Sabre Jr. came back out. So this is somebody that's not affiliated at all with Takeshita, but a couple of things were going on here. Of course, now Zack had just been beaten up by Ren Narita earlier in the night. So I think he dragged him away both in revenge for the beatdown and also as a way for Zack to sort of defend the integrity of the G1 final a little bit, perhaps. So anyway, after that, no more House of Torture. That was the end of it. It was just Takeshita versus EVIL. And this is a really good wrestling match from that moment on. Not another ounce of interference, a little bit of cheating from EVIL, yes. But this was very, very good. Excuse me for the cough there. The fans had a very interesting reaction to this match in the middle a little bit, Jeremy. They went 50-50. All of a sudden, there was a big groundswell for EVIL coming up right there. And when he would go to hit everything as EVIL, these people would just all shout EVIL at once. It was an interesting thing. I never heard it before like that. And a lot of these people were like, do not let the outsider win this thing. And then there were just as many people that were cheering hard for Takeshita. And it just shows how wary New Japan fans are of outsiders. And we mentioned before, only Satoshi Kojima had ever won the G1 without being a full-time New Japan wrestler while doing so. And but fans got into it, though, and they were making a good bit of noise toward the end when it had been pretty quiet in Ariake Arena before that. Goes to prove a point that we have talked about on the show many times before, Jeremy, that EVIL can wrestle. He just doesn't with this gimmick. And a strong match. Yeah, and a very strong match. So go ahead. I'm going to let you talk about this a little bit because I know you have a lot of thoughts on EVIL's in-ring performance in this match. And I think EVIL has earned some praise here. So go ahead, please.
Right. So I'm not digging up the clips, but I have beat that drum for months that EVIL is a good wrestler, a great wrestler, maybe one of the best wrestlers in the world. And you can't do this gimmick night in and night out and be a shitty wrestler. Like flat out. Like this has been my argument from day one is that he has been on this roster, like at a main event level, like with LIJ since 2016. You know, he's been around a long time. He's been in the main event position. He's been doing it night in and night out. And when push came to shove, and it was like, all right, buddy, we're doing the 10 minutes of House of Torture shtick in the beginning. We're going to get all the way. And you're going to wrestle the match of your life because now it's your turn. And I just sat there and I watched it. After that 10 minutes, I was like, I was worried. I was like, are we just getting this crap like Takeshita match? And this is all we're going to get. And it was somewhere around the 12 or 13 mark. And I was like, okay, all right, here we go. And it was very, 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 very good in the way that like people don't want to admit it. People don't want to say that like Evil had a good match. You know, like they'll qualify it. Like I don't usually like Evil matches, or I haven't enjoyed an Evil match in a very long time. And it's like, yeah, okay. But if you watch this guy do this gimmick, and he has to be the front man, he conveys everything that you need a final boss to convey. And there was no other guy to be the bad guy at the end of this G1. Finlay was no longer that person for a number of booking decisions, number one. And number two, the fans have kind of turned him in a bit, and the promotion has kind of turned him. So I'm watching this match, and I'm just thinking, I have talked about Evil being the guy, just one of these guys that is underrated, literally the definition of underrated. Like you use it as, oh, this guy's a little underrated. Like, no, he's very, very, very underrated, but it's almost by design. This match caught people by surprise, and there's a little bit of validation here. There's a lot of validation with the G1 and the booking in general for both of us on this show. And we'll get to that at the very end. But this is one of those that I'm just like, I watched it and I was beating the drum from the get-go that Evil should be in the finals and he should be the final boss. And he was. The mistake was thinking that Yota Tsuji was the guy and not Takeshita. And it was a 50-50 choice. But everything else, we were on the money.
Well, here we go with this. Let's get some comments there. And Crash liked the no BS attitude from Zach, literally dragging Narita out of there in an ankle lock.
It added to be really poetic in a few months too, and we'll get into that.
It really adds to the investment into that potential feud. Let's see. Shark just says, Flaming Shark says, Evil turned it on and Takeshita is becoming the new god of pro wrestling. Regardless of the opinions of fans Japan and internationally, I love the fan reactions for my own personal enjoyment. It was interesting that it went 50-50 like that. And he said it made it better for him personally. Brad mentions, when he works, Evil can still go, and the fans respected that. It was so wild to see and hear. One more comment on that. He said, the Evil Defenders, it's from Flaming Shark. The Evil Defenders are a small group of us. This is one of those moments where they needed Evil to cook, and he cooked. I don't think he's a great wrestler necessarily, but I do think he's quite good. And that was always my
package guy. He's a five wrestler.
I wouldn't put him in the top 20 or anything like that, but I do think it's a guy who can wrestle when he needs to. The other thing I thought of as I was watching this, and Takeshita ended up winning it with the Raging Fire. He got on a roll and got the Raging Fire victory. Couple of interesting things about those fan reactions for both guys. I want to talk about it for both guys. Evil, the way this played out. Now, again, I don't think he's that over. I think that this was more of a reaction to an outsider winning the G1, and they weren't happy with that idea. As this played out and Evil wrestled this match, I am more convinced than ever that there is a true babyface run in Evil someday coming out of this. And it should probably be Ren Narita that overthrows him in the House of Torture.
Oh,
sometime. Not yet. There's still stuff to do.
There could be a Goto level reaction for Evil at some point.
I think there's something there, and Lady B. I love when Finestone takes a victory lap. Me too. I enjoy it too.
I could be an arrogant asshole about that.
No, it's okay. But it's the thing where I think the crowd, when it happens, if it is done correctly with somebody being a proper amount of jerk to him, a proper amount of evil to evil, a proper backstab from Ren Narita, I think Evil could get over as a babyface going for revenge. And then you have a very interesting story after 5 years of this. It's been about 5 years since he turned on LIJ or so. 4, 5. And there's been virtually no changes in these people. Like the people that join House of Torture stay that way, and nothing
evergreen.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's really been no change. They just kind of stay in that faction. Other people join, but everyone else just kind of stays this course. Evil's been this way.
Once they subscribe to the ethos, they're in.
doing this style, this promo, this match. They've been doing it for years. Just seeing Evil do something else and then having the story of him having to try to find allies, having to try to make up for all the horrible things he has done over the course of the years, I think has potential to be an interesting ongoing storyline in itself, let alone the feud with Narita when it happens. I'm not trying to book something that hasn't happened yet, but I'm saying there's something there and that I think it'll work when they finally do it. I think the crowd seems to be willing to go along with Evil as a babyface. If that pendulum swings the other direction, it might work out.
I kind of look at him as the youngest of the dad generation in right now, and that he's got a lot of mileage that he can go longer than a bunch of the other guys. He can outlast Sonata. He'll outlast Goto. He might not outlast Yoshihashi. I feel like Yoshihashi is going to be there a long, long, long time, but Evil is incredibly valuable to Japanese pro wrestling, and I think everyone there knows that. I kind of want to talk about Takeshita, though.
Me too.
The thing that we kind of talked about in our kind of a pregame thing is, if Takeshi's going to work, he's got to be there a hell of a lot more than just a couple of big shows through Wrestle Kingdom. This audience rejected him because he doesn't feel like a full-timer. So whatever the plan is with him, he needs to be there, like, on the tours. Like, spend the next 4 months, 80% in Japan, couple of shows in America. Whatever it's got to be, like, if you try and do it the other way, it's going to fail, and it can't fail.
Yeah, I agree with you. The key is they need somebody full-time there in that spot. And they need to see the G1 winner a lot, not just once in a while on big shows. That's not going to do the job. Interesting note here, though. Takeshita said in post-match comments that he wants to go into the Dome as the G1 winner and the world champion, which, of course, indicates that he, similar to Zack Sabre Jr. last year, wants his match to come at either Destruction or the King of Pro Wrestling, two of the major shows that are still to come between now and the Tokyo Dome. I think he's going to accomplish that, by the way. I think he is going to go into the Dome as a champion.
You ready for another victory lap, Steven?
We said that too.
Yes, we did. We talked about the fact that they put the title back on Zack Sabre Jr. back in the end of June. Mm-hmm. And we said it would be absolutely mind-blowing if Zack Sabre Jr. walked right back into Wrestle Kingdom and the Tokyo Dome as the IWGP champion, given the results and the ticket sales of how it looked last year when he main evented that Dome match against Shota Umino. It was disappointing sales, and from the moment it happened, I was like, that dude is losing the title before the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah.
Whatever the plan is, whether it's Evil or somebody else, that dude will not be going into Wrestle Kingdom as the IWGP champion. And everything out of this show was like, yeah, he's losing it in October to a challenge, just like he challenged somebody last year the same way.
The other thing was, somebody showed, I wish I knew who it was so I could give him credit, but it was a social media post. And it showed a clip taken from someone's phone at a DDT show today. And remarkably, Jeremy, the announcer got on the microphone and told the crowd at the DDT show, ladies and gentlemen, today, G1 Climax 35, Konosuke Takeshita won. The building popped. Like people like up, arms pumping up in the air, excited, like squeals of delight from the girls. The guys were cheering, big applause. It got a full-blown babyface pop that their guy went and won the G1 Climax. I thought that was interesting. But first of all, how weird is it that somebody would just say, like, hey, by the way, at a different wrestling show that you're not at, that's at a different company altogether, this guy that used to work for us won a big thing. And
that's like that's like a local promotion, like your guy. Okay. So
and Brad's added some context that DDT show was in Takeshita's home prefecture, so it must have been near Osaka.
So it's like me going to APW shows and seeing Powerhouse Hobbs before he was ever on AEW, and then watching him win like the 6-man titles or the trio titles on AEW with Samoa Joe and Shibata. You're just like, that meant a little bit extra to me, that kind of thing. And it's just like you were there at one point of it, and then you just see this guy like completely blow away expectations. Like, yeah, that's right, I saw that guy back then.
Yeah. Oh, that was in Osaka. That was at Edion. So there you go. There was indeed in Osaka right there. So, Jesse Hyde is asking, did I see the Fightful report on AEW booking Evil as the G1 35 winner? No, I didn't see that. I wouldn't have taken it seriously if I did.
Okay. So silliness. I'm going to paraphrase here. And they basically, Fightful got a report, and it said sources closest to Tony Khan expressed that they are not particularly a fan of Evil and would not have any input in any way, shape, or form, but specifically made clear that, like, I'm not a fan of Evil as a wrestler. And I'm just like, that was a little shitty.
Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Maybe I'll try and find the exact quote right here. Tony Khan, Evil, Fightful.
Okay. Well, I don't think it matters all that much. I don't think that Tony had a lot to do with the booking on this. I don't. I think this went the way New Japan wanted it to. The issue is I still think that they need a full-time guy that the people can get behind, and they're not giving it to him. So I do worry. And we're seeing the crowds. Crowds weren't great during this one. They were down about between 10 and 20% almost across the board, with only a couple of exceptions on a 19-night tour. So
we are seriously undercharging people, Steven. The quote was from Fightful Select: "We were outright told that Tony Khan had never particularly been a fan of his work, which is why he hadn't been booked for AEW, Forbidden Door, or even Ring of Honor." And I was like, okay, can you give me $5? I could have told you that.
Yeah, I don't. I don't see the point of any of that, really. Yeah, it's different.
We're trying to go 90, so whatever.
No. So Lady B is asking, do we see a Takeshita-Zack face-off after Zack's match at Forbidden Door? That's possible, yeah. I think they might do something like that if both guys are on the show.
They should.
Yeah.
At one point, it was mentioned to me that there was actually going to be a tag match, and it was going to be Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita versus Zack Sabre Jr. and Nigel McGuinness. But you kind of see that the bones of that now ended up being Zack Sabre Jr. versus Nigel McGuinness. And there was another aspect of they couldn't really announce it and do a couple of things. And I don't know, Kyle Fletcher in a singles match after that match with Ishii, I'm like, I'm totally on board with the singles match. I think Hiromu was a weird opponent. Whatever, it's fine. But yeah, that was a funny thing. I think it's possible, but I kind of think that if they want to do this right, and they really want to show that this is designed for the Japanese audience, they will minimize as much as they can between Zack and Takeshita there and leave the big angle to happen in Japan.
Yeah, but I think there should be an acknowledgement of what the next step is. Yeah.
Minimal, like something, but not like we can't skyrocket the whole angle and have everything happen here and then do nothing in Japan building up to it.
And Shark says, Fletcher and Hiromu was a real Forbidden Door match, so it's hard for me to complain, unlike the rest of the show. And yeah, like Shark just mentioned, the conspiracy theories are wild. For better or worse, New Japan is 110% locked in on Takeshita and hope he's their top guy in the future, apparently now as well. There's another thing, Jeremy. It's something that I think New Japan might be setting up, or maybe I'm reading too much into it. I want to see what you think about it. But
let me know. What do you got?
They have mentioned over and over again, frequently by Chris Charlton, that Takeshita's a line from Takeshita is like, I may not love New Japan as all of you, but no one loves pro wrestling more than me. But I love pro wrestling more than all of you. is this a setup for someday when Takeshita finally does come over full time, which a lot of people believe that was his plan. Like he wanted to go from DDT to New Japan. That's a little unseemly in Japan. A little tour of AEW first, then you come on over. It doesn't look like you dumped your starting promotion for the big time, so to speak. It's not as insulting. In some ways, that stuff in the work culture in Japan matters and all that. But a lot of people feel like Takeshi's always wanted to be a New Japan star. Now New Japan wants him to be. Is the moment when he finally says, I do love New Japan as much as all of you people. And are they setting something like that up for him to just go, this is it? And I'm not putting a date on it. I'm not saying it's happening soon or even this year, but maybe when his contract is up with AEW and he does become a full-time guy, the story will become, I am now one of you. I've always wanted to be. Now I am one of you. And I feel like they're just, by saying he's not, the pro wrestling trope is, he is.
I think you need to do a two-step kind of promo between two big shows and you can knock this out. If you did the promo at Wrestle Kingdom where he's just like, I want to make New Japan my home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then at another big show, you unite the audience and him with the speech, thank you for making New Japan my home. You know, where like you do the one there where you prime the audience where he is making that relationship that transactional relationship with the audience where he expresses and he does the work. He is there like all the time. And he is like the top guy and he's running his body ragged for 12 months straight. And like at near the end of his like title run, like after something, he does the whole thank you, you know, and it's just like he's made, absolutely made. Like that's all you have to do. You do not have to overthink this.
All right. And Jesse Hyde's asking, will New Japan give WWE a call for Shinsuke as Tanahashi's final opponent for Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome? I would love it, but I think it's a long shot. I think it is a long shot. Would they call and ask? Maybe they would. And but I will believe it when I see it, basically. But I would they call and ask? They could call and ask. I do think they want somebody very special for Tanahashi's last opponent. I do think they want something very special for them.
If Tanahashi can have a singles match, first final match, I think one of the best ways to get the most eyeballs on it is not one of the new guys, because the audience that love Tanahashi doesn't care about the new guys. You need to put them in a match underneath where you get them to care, but it's not in the match with Tanahashi because that's not of a stature. So what is of that stature? We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I think there's a short list of people that you can do this match, the final match, and it's Okada.
Yeah, Okada could be it.
It's Nakamura. And it's Naito.
Yeah.
I think you can do it with those three guys and close the book on Tanahashi's retirement. There are varying levels of yes and no to all of those. Okada, it just depends on him saying yes or no, frankly. And he might not say yes, in all honesty. Like, he's got his own thing, and he'll be going through the Continental Classic, and he's the champion over there. And it may not be something that he's interested in doing because they've done their final matches together many times before. I went to the final US match between the two, and then they had a final Japan match. They could do another one, but you have that. Nakamura, you haven't seen him since June of 2025 when he was in the tournament to crown a King of the Ring winner in Saudi Arabia, and he lost in the beginning match. He's not been released. He's still on the roster. I've checked. But there's coming a point where you got to announce the guy, and he's going to get released. It's not going to come to an end of a contract. So even if that happens, it's a 90-day thing. So if it does happen, it's making a deal with WWE. Is WWE really inclined to do New Japan that favor unless they're willing to like cut ties with AEW or do something like that? And, you know, like, they're kind of a hardball thing. So we talked about it a week and a half, maybe not last show, but the show before. And you and I kind of think there's a lot of BS around Naito's discussions about his health and his ability to wrestle in the States and not being able to work in New Japan. And there's just a lot there that doesn't pass scrutiny. And if I had to bet anything, I would probably have to bet that Naito is Tanahashi's opponent at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, Crash TV forgot to pick up Nakamura from the airport. But yeah, and Shark said his gut instinct is Okada. I think that's the list. I think you're right. I think it's either going to be Okada, it's going to be Naito, it could be Nakamura if they can get him. If he's under contract with WWE, no, because I don't think they would get him because I don't think WWE has any.
The asking price would be too high.
Well, I don't know if they would even have an asking price for somebody who works with AEW. I just think they would just say, no, we're not going to go help out somebody else that we're competition with. Yeah. Noah is a different animal. You know, they don't see Noah as Noah doesn't work with AEW. And so it's a different, the same reason why they might send somebody over to Marigold and not Stardom. You know, there's politics behind the scenes with all that kind of stuff. If Nakamura is released, then yeah, I could see it. I could see it happening. I think Nakamura might be interested in walking down the aisle of the Dome again, but unless that happens, I'm not holding my breath.
Caveat this though, they can do whatever the hell they want, and it's Tanahashi's retirement, and he can do whatever the hell he wants. He can have anyone on that roster be his final opponent, and they can justify it in some way, shape, or form. But for specialness, for like the moment, for this closing out the Tokyo Dome and being a big, big deal, it's one of those three guys.
And you would want it to be somebody who could help you sell tickets. That's what they got to do. That's what they got to do. And that's why I lean more toward an Okada or a Naito for that. I think they would go back to that well a little bit. Yeah. And Brad said it would be right in WWE's wheelhouse to wait until after January 4th to release him, so he couldn't do that.
Absolutely.
Darn right.
I am. They're not using him. He's on ice. Right. I got no problem with them paying him to sit at home. I really don't. Like, anyone should, God bless him. You're getting paid, you're going to surf. But there comes a cost in which it's like, yeah, we're missing out on a potentially very special opportunity, and it kind of sucks to WWE, but they want to stomp out other promotions. Yeah. They do.
Yeah.
They don't want other people to have a foothold.
Yeah, and he says it feels like it needs to be one of the big stars of the last 20 years. That's from Shark of New Japan and a major Tanahashi rival. But yeah, they could do anything. I mean, they're going to have a list of but this is our first choice, second choice, third choice. Could be
Moxley.
That would be a dud compared to the idea of seeing Tanahashi Okada one more time.
I don't have the outside.
I don't dislike Moxley the way other people dislike Moxley, but that doesn't feel like the Tanahashi.
But like when you're talking about outsiders and you're talking about the fan reaction and Tanahashi's retirement, that will land like a wet fart.
Yeah. Lady B, Tanahashi versus John Cena.
It had been discussed, I promise you. There were thoughts like maybe they can make that happen at one point.
Would have been cool. That would have been an interesting one when both those guys were younger and healthier and all that stuff. That would have been an interesting match. That would have been interesting.
They had very, very interesting mirror careers.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it, they both stumbled out of the gate in their major promotion. Then they got put in superstardom, and then they were the person in which everything went through for the promotion for a certain period of time. 2016 hit, and it was almost like, okay, you're still the guy, but we've got all these other people that we're focusing on. Mm-hmm. And then, like, you're watching them wrap up their career literally within a week of each other at this point. If they're going to have the December 27th and the January 4th, like, retirement matches, you're closing the book on two guys that were 2 decade plus iconic top of the industry wrestlers.
All right. Well, and Colin's asking, did anyone watch the Marufuji Kenta match today? I have not gotten to that yet. I've been doing this, basically preparing for this. I will, but Oh, Brad says, I'm not sure I want my worst enemy to watch that match. Oh, was it that bad?
Savage.
Oh, no. Oh, I hate to hear that it was that bad. But you want to talk about another guy, again, similar to Tanahashi, who's president of a company and whose body is absolutely shot. Marufuji falls into that category as well. But yeah. So, all right, Takeshita. So Takeshita has won the G1. Mm-hmm. He's going to get a title shot at some point. Yes. We believe it is going to be before the Tokyo Dome to set up something for the Dome. Possibly with him as champion. The other thing that we are curious about, just to summarize what we've been talking about, the G1 winner is now a guy who does not work for the company full time. How much Konosuke Takeshita can New Japan get between now and the end of the year? Because you and I both agree, Jeremy, that they need to have a star, somebody on the day-to-days. And obviously it's 3 weeks until Blue Justice, which is kind of the beginning of the Road to Destruction tour. If we get the Road to Destruction tour and there's no Takeshita, I'm nervous about how this is all going to go.
This is all going to go very, very badly, very quickly.
Because I feel like the fans who are already a little teed off about a part-timer winning G1 just rejecting the idea of a foreigner doing more than that if they're coming in.
Yeah. They're not going to wholeheartedly embrace him.
Yeah. It's
you can already see it in the audience where, oh, you're just another one of those guys from AEW. Like from a certain subset of thing. You're going to come in and you're going to leave. And they might not be wrong. And the promotion really needs to be firm and have all of their ducks in a row in making sure that they have Takeshita for the dates they need more than enough to satisfy the audience demand of like, you better be here, brother.
And Shark says something here. He says, you would think New Japan has to know this, especially after the IWGP title reign of John Moxley. And yes, you would think they would learn that, Shark. But I will say this.
Arrogant to the booking committee.
Exactly. They didn't learn from Carl Anderson holding the Never Openweight title. They didn't learn from FTR holding the tag team titles. Maybe they haven't learned from Moxley holding the IWGP title. It doesn't work for that audience. Their audience doesn't enjoy that. They don't get into it. They don't like it. I hope they've learned that. Now, maybe they've worked out a thing where Takeshita is going to be here more. Then you can make a case for it. If not, then we're looking down the barrel of that Yota Tsuji EVIL finish, or the booking that didn't bring Yota Tsuji into the finals being a very bad call. And
flat out, he can't be in the C2. Like, if he has that title,
oh God, yeah,
that thing needs to be protected. He can't be doing title matches on AEW for the IWGP title.
Yeah.
He can't be doing these cute matches. You know what I mean? Like, this needs to be like, this title is only defended in Japan. It is only defended on New Japan shows. And Takeshita is a special attraction when he shows up. He should be treated like Okada was treated when he first was like sniffing around AEW.
Yeah, I know. I get so nervous at the idea that he might win this thing at either Destruction or King of Pro Wrestling. And then for the IWGP Championship, Takeshita versus Lee Moriarty or one of the 50 nobodies on those shows. Ick. No.
Like, I don't know, man. I don't want to see Takeshita versus... Well, I guess it's not going to be like Lance Archer, but you know what I mean? Like, I just don't want to see that random... Takeshita versus Sammy Guevara or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where like, or Bandito's going to run it. They're going to run it back with Bandito this time for the IWGP heavyweight title. Like, this dude is on a different level now. Stop it. Like, do not do this.
And that will get the fans of Japan to utterly reject this whole thing. So they've got to be very careful. Got to be very, very careful.
All right. We got a lot of comments here. Are we knocking through all this? We want to...
there's some things here, but Lady B says she's surprised we haven't gotten the Kenny Tanahashi tag team match. I'm a little bit surprised too. They seem to be leaning heavily toward that. Remember that, Jeremy, before when they had their summit meeting where they kind of cleared the air? That seemed to be where all that was headed, and then nothing happened. Kenny ended up wrestling Gabe Kidd that once, and then the rest of it didn't go. But
the reality is we're only getting like 10 matches from Kenny Omega a year now. Like, when he does these matches, like, he's off for 2 or 3 weeks. I'd love to see, like, something where Kenny and Tanahashi do like a fun tag somewhere. Like, fuck, I would love to see Kenny and Tanahashi, like Tanahashi get Kenny as his world tag league partner, and we just like have Kenny and Tanahashi like having fun and like somehow just not being able to make it to the post. Well, you know what I mean? Like just whatever.
Yeah, and the USVA guy mentions this. It can't happen. Tony has booked things without approval before. I think his attitude might have been, well, I'm not going to change the belt, so who cares? But it matters in Japan. That it matters. And hopefully that can be communicated if that's the situation. Shar says, I don't think they really cared about the Anderson or FTR things, even though they should have. But the Mox thing was a mistake I do believe they regret. Well, hopefully they regret it enough not to make it
the world title is a different thing than everything else, you know?
Yeah, and it should be. And New Japan does treat the world title differently than it treats everybody else right there.
So. They do.
Well, a lot of uncertainty going forward on this one as far as Konosuke Takeshita being the G1 winner. I suppose we should give it a chance, but I'm leery about it. I'm leery about it. But in the meantime, it does look like we have a global title match coming with Gabe Kidd and Shingo Takagi, which will be all right. That'll be fine. It'll be a good match. I don't know how much steam it'll really have on it. We're going to have unaffiliated clashing with the War Dogs, apparently. That'll be a collection of matches to have. Fujita and Eagles against Doki and Sho for the junior tag titles. We'll have Desperado and Yo for the junior heavyweight singles championship. I suppose we'll see if Taguchi can put together a couple of guys to go after the trios titles. But that will never open weight. Bolton has lifted a lot in his life. He has done a lot of weightlifting, and he is going to be asked to carry more than he ever has if he has to wrestle Don Fale on a big show. That is going to be the most that man has ever lifted, because he's going to have to carry every ounce of that match.
Yeah, we know in 100+ days, we got Takeshi in a top match, we got Tanahashi in a top match, and then all they're be making their way. So it'll be good. I'm excited, and I also know that you're gonna have to slow things down a little bit because we have some twists and turns before we get to some clarity on the main event, who Takeshita is going to be facing, if he's facing anyone at all. But we've made our argument why it doesn't seem like Zack Sabre Jr. is going to be holding that title. And we're going to be back on Thursday. We're going to be talking about our top 10 matches each from the show, and so we're going to be on at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, like we normally are. So,
that's right.
If you're joining us and you just kind of found us in this show, like we talk about New Japan for 90 minutes every week. You can find us on the Fight Game Media Network, the YouTube channel. I'll be back next week to talk about Forbidden Door, I think with Garrett, after the show next week. But yeah, every Thursday, Steven and I will be joining, because Steven has removed himself from contention for discussing Forbidden Door. He has forbidden himself from being the hater that he is on all things AEW, and no one is going to get an opportunity to hear his rant on Huey and Dewey, the Young Bucks, that he is apt to mention every time they get under his skin. And it is glorious. I recommend that anytime the Young Bucks come across our programming, that you make sure that you get Steven's spicy hot take, which is akin to the John LaRocca Young Bucks distaste. I have two people in my life that severely do not appreciate the Young Bucks, and they have made all of their valid reasons for it, and I'm just amused every time I hear them pontificate on Huey and Dewey.
Lady P, I wanted Sassy Steven. I won't watch the post show. No, make sure you watch it. They'll do a good job, but I can't sit through that whole show. I just won't.
There's a clip, Lady P, that I put up on YouTube of the Forbidden Door matches and exactly why do they exist. And it was us previewing for about 15 minutes from this last Thursday. Just go to the YouTube channel, and it's our preview where we just rip the thing apart.
Yeah. Well, and there's going to be more of it on Thursday, because we're going to have to talk about Forbidden Door on Thursday.
Yeah, wait. We got programming. We got to fill content. It should be fantastic.
You can't make me watch a show, but I can talk about it. And USVA guy says that things have been hectic between international and Japanese fandoms. Watch out for racism toward Japanese fans. Let's keep it civil. Let's keep it civil online, everybody. I know That there's, I think the people on this show will know how to do
like,
that.
Racism where? Like,
I think it's online and stuff like that.
No, sure. I'm like, the internet is awful, but I can 100% say that like there wasn't a racist thought in my body about anything about this show.
And Brad says Steven is taking over as co-host of the Dynamite Show for his AEW takes. Good Lord.
I need to see Stephen Conway and Paul Fontaine do a show together.
I can't handle it. I couldn't. No.
Oh, be nice.
Couldn't take it. Couldn't take it. That's all I could do. No. And it's just that
it's not Paul. It's the show, guys.
I didn't know. I'm not sitting through that much AEW programming. I'm just
look. I wanted to clarify that now.
No, I'm not sitting through that much of that programming. I can't watch WWE nowadays. It's just North American wrestling is just in this pocket where it's not doing it for me.
I think I like watching AEW Dynamite live, but I think AEW Collision is the show I enjoy the most. WWE Raw is a robot, and I don't even bother watching SmackDown.
It's just in a pocket where it's just neither company's really doing it for me. And
also,
the good news is there's all these tournaments, and there's Dreamstar Grand Prix and the 5-Star Grand Prix and the N1, and there's so much good stuff going on over in Japan. Life's too short to watch bad wrestling or wrestling that just doesn't check your boxes right there. And the CMLL is still pretty good. So there's plenty of good stuff. I'm just going to watch the good stuff. And plus, I got to get through all these archives, Jeremy. For the love of God, they're leaving Peacock. If I don't watch this stuff from 84, 85, who's going to? It's got to be me.
It's probably going to be on YouTube. Anyways, I just laugh like, oh, how much time do you have to watch wrestling? I don't know. My wife had back surgery. I have a full-time job, and I watched 19 nights of the G1 over the last month. I try and make time.
It's been a lot of wrestling. And the N1 starts September 8th. We got another tournament.
I'm stoked to do no wrestling watching for the next couple of days. I'm so happy.
No,
we made it, Steven. We're done.
I'm going to be catching up with the women's tournaments over there. But that is it. So, thank you everyone for joining us here live. And for those of you who listen later, either here on YouTube or as the podcast, we're grateful for your time. We know that there's a lot of choices. We're grateful that you spend time with us.
Thank you, guys.
A lot of people did. There's so many names out there, but you know who you are. We put your names up there. But I really appreciate that you guys have taken time out to join us after watching this show to spend more with us. It's really fun. I love the interaction that you guys bring. Men and women are from around the world. And one of the things I'm most proud of, Jeremy, is I get the stats, and a full third of our audience comes from outside of North America. That's just right. It's pretty exciting to think of. So
we have an international appeal, Steven.
We do. So
and so lives in like Dubai, so it might be one of them too. Shout out to Dina.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We'll be back on Thursday at our regular time to talk about, we'll let this sink in. We'll look at the developments that happened between then, preview Forbidden Door, a lot going forward to talk about in New Japan, and we will do it all right here. So for Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This has been Speaking of Strong Style, and we will talk to you again real soon. Thank you.
Bye.